and welcome to the Ellen Made Book Club. Today I want to update my list of 25 books to read in 2025. I originally made this list at the end of last year, so like December 2024, and there are a bunch of books on here that I just don't really feel excited about reading right now. Most of them I do want to read at some point, but I would like to switch some of them out because so far I've only read 4 books on this list, and we're halfway through the year, and if I've read 4 out of 25, why am I holding on to this list if I don't feel as excited about the books anymore? So I just figured we could update it together, and I don't know what it's going to look like at the end of this video, so we will go on that journey together. And you can scream and shout at me in the comments if you think that I'm making any wrong decisions. Let's just get started, I guess. So this is the original list, and as you can see, I have only read 4 books on here, and then I have 5 bonus books that I wanted a list of 25 books because it's the year 2025 and it looks nice on a thing like this. You can make it into a bingo board, and it just seemed like a good number. But in reality, 25 books is about half of all of the books that I read in a year, so I think that 25 is too many. So maybe it's not very smart to pick 25 new books, but I don't know. Let's just start doing something, and maybe I'll decide to have fewer books, but let's update it with 25 books, I guess, to start with. Where do we want to begin? I'm gonna keep the ones that I've already read, obviously. So let's start by just shuffling these around a little bit. Okay, these are the books that I have read so far. I'm not as excited about Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. I do want to read that at some point, but I don't think that this is the year. So let's move that out of the way. The Remains of the Day, that's a maybe. I should just delete this one. I don't know. Should I keep a little? Let's do a no pile, a maybe pile. The Mountain Sing is also a maybe. I do want to read that, but I'm just worried that it's going to be too heavy. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna read The Kite Runner this year. The Transition Baby I also don't want on this list. I might pick it up at some point, but I don't want it on here. The Handmaid's Tale, I'm gonna keep it on here for now, I think. Malibu Rising, I'm not as excited about right now. To Kill a Mockingbird, maybe. The Appeal, yeah, I think it would be fun to try that one. Educated, I don't think I'm going to be reading this year. Same for Braiding Sweetgrass. I don't think I'm going to be reading that this year. Fight Club, I do still want to read. The Only One Left by Riley Sager, maybe. Kaikei, I don't think I'm going to read this year. The Gods of Jade and Shadow, I don't think I'm going to read this year either. Women Talking, I do want to read this year. The Last Unicorn, I want to read this year. And Boy Parts. Atonement is a maybe, I think. And The Color Purple is also going to be a maybe. And then we have my bonus books over here. City of Laughter and Labyrinth of the Spirits is not gonna happen, I don't think. Stephen King, 11/22/63. I don't think that's gonna happen either. I don't know, let's just delete that. Masquerade and The House of Fortune, I would like to read this year. Okay, so now we have a few empty spots, and let's find some books to fill it out with. I definitely want to read some of my new books, so let's add in The Book of Guilt by Catherine Chidgey, The Garden by Nick Newman, and A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck, I think his name is. I can't see. Yes, Stephen L. Peck. Okay, so we have 9 slots to fill. Let's start with Hours. I definitely want to read that. I also would like to read The Wall all of the new books that I got. The Things We Do to Our Friends by Heather Darwin. I would also like to read maybe Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivy. Amma by Sarai de Silva. Maybe Crooked Seeds by Karen Jennings. That's one that is very interesting to me. I definitely want to read We Will Be Jaguars by Namonte Nkimo. I am reading that currently, and that's definitely one that I want to finish. Maybe Fundamentally by Naseba Yunus. Maybe Havoc by Christopher Bolin. James is definitely a contender as well, by Percival Everett. Killers of the Flower Moon would also be an option. River Spirit could be an option. Stoneyard Devotional is also a book that I really want to get to. The Darlings of the Asylum is another book that I have had on my shelf for a long time that doesn't have the best ratings, but I'm still very intrigued to read that. Yeah, The Man Who Lived Underground would also be an option. I want to read the books that I have purchased new recently. I want to read them pretty soon because I don't want my excitement for those to dwindle. So let's also add The Old Woman with the Knife is what it's called. The Night Alphabet by Joelle Taylor. The Safe Keep could also be an option. Two Twisted Crowns is another book that I feel like I need to read this year because I started that series or that duology last year and I never finished it, and so I would like to. See, oh yeah, Unbowed is also a book that I would like to read. Okay, so now I have too many books. Let's do a little nonfiction at the bottom maybe. I don't know if that's important in any way. Unbowed is also a memoir. Hours is definitely going to go on here as well. What else do I want to pick? Do I want to pick Two Twisted Crowns maybe? My goal and like purpose with this list is to stay a little bit on track and like remind myself of the books that I really do want to read, so that I don't just like, you know, get distracted by reading events or things like that. And like, not that there's anything wrong with that, because if I want to read a book for an event, that's completely fine. But I just like having a collection of books that I can turn to, you know, to find out what books I want to read. I still want to have a mix of fun reads and reads that are a bit more challenging, but I just want them to be more of a reflection of what I'm excited to read right now. And I also want them to sort of match my reading challenges a bit. So if there are books that I am reading for the Buzzword Challenge or the Read Good Challenge or my Diversity Book Bingo, I would like those books to be on here as well, so that I don't like add extra pressure on myself. We Will Be Jaguars by Namonte Nkimo is a very enjoyable read in terms of like writing and story, but it's also challenging in terms of subject matter. Unbowed by Wangari Maathai I think is going to be a very challenging read as well. I think that The Mountains Sing is going to be a challenging read. I think To Kill a Mockingbird is also going to be a challenge for me. James would also be a challenging read, but I do think that's going to be really good. I definitely want to read The Book of Guilt and The Garden and Hours. I'm gonna put those as my like top 3. This is hard. Okay, I guess I'm gonna put Two Twisted Crowns on here as well, because I would like to finish that series. It's just not one that I'm super excited about, but I do want to finish that. The Darlings of the Asylum I would also like to finish, or like I want to read that, so let's put that on there. And I do own it as well, because from the beginning I had 10 books that I owned that I wanted to read, and then 15 books that I could get from the library or on my audiobook app. I might also actually want to add in, let's go find an image. I just feel like I should read this. Legendborn by Tracy Dion I would also like to read, so I guess let's put that on there. That might be fun. I would also really like to read The Man Who Lived Underground. I think that sounds really interesting, and I would also like to read The Wall. And so then I only have one spot left. I don't think I'm going to read The Handmaid's Tale this year. I don't really see that happening, unfortunately, because I really do want to read that. I don't think I'm going to. The Things We Do to Our Friends would be fun. Fundamentally would also be fun. Stoneyard Devotional would also be a good option. Yeah, maybe that one. Okay. Maybe Crooked Seeds, or the old woman with the knife. Why can't I ever say that title right? Or Masquerade, or The House of Fortune. Like, I don't I want to read all of these books. I feel like I might need to like group these together so that I don't have too many similar books. The Book of Guilt and The Garden to me feel like a similar type of book. They might not be, but they kind of feel that way to me. And I feel like The Garden and The Wall is kind of similar, and also A Short Stay in Hell. I feel like these four are kind of a little bit like dystopian, strange, and we're trying to figure something out. Like dystopian and philosophical, I feel like these four books are. Then I feel like we have To Kill a Mockingbird and The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, Hours, maybe even The Man Who Lived Underground. All of these four are like, you know, African American history and experience, even though they have different takes on that. Like The Man Who Lived Underground is a thriller. Ours is more like a sci-fi. Heaven and Earth Grocery Store is historical fiction, I think. And To Kill a Mockingbird is like a young adult history kind of book. And then we also have Legendborn, which is also by an African American author, I think. That's more like fantasy. The Last Unicorn is also somewhere in that kind of region. The Darlings of the Asylum, I don't know where that would fit. And then Stoneyard Devotional is also kind of similar to none of these. Well, maybe Women Talking, because it's kind of like a religious community. So those are kind of similar in that sense. And The Darlings of the Asylum is like women in a Victorian asylum. And then Boy Parts, I feel like, could sort of be an extension of that too, maybe. I'll just put these at like the bottom here, I think, so that we have them a little bit more grouped somehow. And then we have We Will Be Jaguars, and let's put Unbowed there, and Fight Club can probably go down there. All right, so we have some philosophical dystopias, kind of, some African American history and experience, and also an African memoir, some fantasy, and then we have sort of women in different situations, and then Fight Club. Maybe Fundamentally would be a good sort of addition there. I feel like we're missing something from Asia. I've read a few books from South America this year, but I have not read anything, I don't think, from Asia. So let's add The Old Woman with the Knife into here. I feel like that fits pretty well on the top row. Maybe The Things We Do to Our Friends could also be fun at the bottom here. I don't know. I don't have to put these in groups. I don't know why I'm doing that. I don't have any thrillers. Yes, I do have one thriller. I have 3 fantasy books, and then I have some religious communities and women's experiences. I have an indigenous memoir. I have Fight Club, which is just, I don't know, does that go up here maybe? Yeah, I feel like that sort of fits into there. The Mountains Sing and The Appeal. What have I read from Africa so far? Let me consult my little reading challenge book. I have only read 2 books from Africa so far, and those are My Sister the Serial Killer and Homegoing. So maybe I should try to get something else from Africa into here. So maybe Crooked Seeds or River Spirit, or Masquerade. Okay, so I don't think I'm gonna put James on here for this year because I already have these. Or do I want to switch out To Kill a Mockingbird with James? I am making this way harder for myself than it needs to be, probably. Another option would be White Cat Black Dog, because that's a short story collection that I am like halfway through that I would also really like to finish this year. Let's add that because that is likely that I can finish. What do I have on here that is Asian? I guess I should probably put The Mountains Sing back on here. I don't think I want to read To Kill a Mockingbird this year. That has not been calling to me. So let's take that off and maybe let's put Crooked Seeds on here instead so that I have something else set in Africa. But I do need something else set in Asia, I think. And I'm not sure if I want to read The Mountains Sing this year. Fundamentally is also set in Asia, so maybe that one. That also has some queer rep, which would be good. Do I think that it's realistic for me to read both The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store and Hours? That's a good question, isn't it? And Unbowed. How many of these are like fun and how many are challenging? The top 2 rows are, you know, good. Hours I definitely need to read this year, and The Man Who Lived Underground is also one that I'm excited for. The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store I have tried, I've read a little bit into, but I feel like reading both that and Hours, maybe it's not so smart to have both of those. I want to read that one though. Ooh, this is hard. So many decisions. Which ones am I sure about? I definitely want to keep Hours on here. I do think I want to keep The Man Who Lived Underground on here as well. Crooked Seeds I'm not 100% about, or Unbowed, or Fundamentally. We Will Be Jaguars I'm definitely going to read, so let's just move that up, I guess. White Cat Black Dog I also feel confident about. I feel like Havoc could look fun. In the middle there. I don't think I'm gonna put the Night Alphabet on here. I also don't think I'm gonna put River Spirit on here. Maybe Amma, but probably not. Is that my list? How did Havoc end up on there? That is one that I want to read though, and it is set in a hotel, so I feel like that could work for a prompt, and it can also work for a pattern prompt on the buzzword challenge, so maybe that is a good thing. Yeah, okay, I think maybe this is my list. The Old Woman with a Knife is set in Asia, and it can go for a bunch of my reading challenges, I think. Book of Guilt and The Garden and The Wall and A Short Stay in Hell and Fight Club I feel very good about. Hours is going to be a challenge for me to get through, but I definitely want it on here. It wasn't from the start, but it really should have been. The Man Who Lived Underground I am very excited to try. Havoc is fun, I hope. Crooked Seeds is set in South Africa, so that goes with the diversity book bingo and just my general ambition to read more diversely. And We Will Be Jaguars set in South America. I'm halfway through that. That's good. And also an Indigenous author, and it also goes for the climathon thing. Should I check on there? I also wanted to read Oil on Water, and I think that it might be more likely that I get to that than Unbowed, so I'm just gonna put that on here. I want it to be possible that I actually you know, read as many of these as I can. Okay, Oil on Water just got put on here all of a sudden. Yeah, I think that's good. Then I have Crooked Seeds and Oil on Water in Africa. And We Will Be Jaguars in South America, and I've already read a few books from there. And then I have The Old Woman with the Knife in Asia and Fundamentally in Asia. Okay, that's good. And then I have The Book of Guilt and Stoneyard Devotional in New Zealand, Australia. A few fantasies, finishing up a series, a couple of thrillers, some dystopian, some literary fiction, some historical fiction. yeah, I feel like this is a much better list. Yeah, I do think I want to just put that down there and that up. Oh no, what happened? Yeah, maybe like that. Okay, I think that's the finished list. I'm feeling a lot better about this one. I just feel like it's reflecting my current interests a lot more and just books that I'm excited to read now. The original list still has a lot of books that I am, you know, intrigued to read at some point, but maybe not right now. I feel like this is more, yeah, representative of me and my excitement at this moment. That's the updated list. Thank you for keeping me company while putting it together. I hope this was somewhat enjoyable. Let me know in the comments if you think that I made any stupid decisions or if there are any books on here that you are interested in or like intrigued about and want me to talk about more in another video, because I didn't really go into what they're about. But yeah, I didn't feel like this video was the place to do that. So yeah, anyways, enough yapping from me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.